So you want to start streaming D&D on Twitch. Or perhaps you realize that your overlay looks a little outdated or tacky and you just want to edit it. Maybe you want to retheme it for Christmas or a brand new campaign. Whatever your reasoning, I'm here to help. Hi, I'm Mikey, and I stream D&D on Twitch under the name Dmetagame. If you like this content, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord server and ask me directly. But with that out of the way, let's begin today's video. Let's start with a quick experiment. Go on Twitch and look up Dungeons & Dragons, or even Tabletop RPG. Now look at the graphics on the videos on the top of the page. A lot of them look simple, and even the ones that look complicated, at least they look very sleek. Then scroll down a little bit. You'll see a few nicer looking streams, but among them you're going to see a lot of absolute eyesores. Now, I don't want to hate on the DMs that are using those abominations. After all, you could look at my Twitch clips and you could see that I was an ugly UI streamer as well. Listen, being a DM is a lot of difficult work, and not all of us are talented to be able to run a game and be an artist and be a coder all at once. I'm not talented in that area either, but I do have a little bit of Photoshop experience, and by using a few simple tricks in Photoshop, you can make your own perfect overlay for your stream. This video is going to be the first in a series of several where I go over how we can make our overlay look a lot nicer, more professional, and make it really pop and stand out. The reason being that this will be a series and not just one video is because there are 4 different types of D&D streams, and each one will call for a completely different overlay. And even then, after I go over those overlays, I want to make even more videos on how we can take those simple tricks that I teach you on how to make the overlay look nice and go technologically advanced with the overlay. So, what are the 4 types of D&D streams? Simple. Avatar stream, FaceCam stream, in-person stream, and a podcast stream. As I mentioned before, each one is going to require different things that you would want on the overlay. So, an overlay designed for, let's say, an avatar stream is going to be a lot different than an overlay designed for a FaceCam stream. Let's start with an avatar stream. This is the newest format, and thanks to the rise of VTubers and PNG tubers, it is taking the D&D world by storm. It could be a bunch of VTubers sitting around a table. It could be wanted posters with little chat bubbles. It could be avatars of the players sitting around a table in a PNG tuber format. The main consistency here is that the players are being represented by an avatar in some format, and there is some sort of animation involved. The reason someone might use an avatar stream is to put a focus on roleplay, or perhaps you have one player who doesn't like to show a face cam. Maybe you yourself are a VTuber and you just want to keep your stream looking on brand. Whatever the case, as you could see by the clips that I just showed before, when done right, it could look really cool. Now let's go over the pros and cons of running a D&D avatar stream. For the first pro, it's easy branding. Facecams take up a lot of real estate on the screen, so you can get really creative with how the screen looks and how it integrates the PNG tubers or the VTubers or whatever avatar you choose to use. The second pro, easy chat integration. With not much to worry about for a player about how you look on the camera and looking at other people's faces, it's a lot easier for you to pay attention to chat, so if your players are streaming the game simultaneously with you, they can easily just hit the mute button on their mic and interact with chat whenever there's any downtime. The third pro, it's quickly gaining traction. This is the new trend, and honestly, it's a big hit with younger audiences and fans of anime, which are 2 gigantic demographics on Twitch. So, it looks like it's here to stay for a while. Which leads me to the final pro. It has a very defined demographic of your viewers, and because of that, it's really easy to build it for them. Now, what are the cons for D&D avatar streams? Well, there's only 2, but they're pretty big. The first con is that it requires an absurd amount of graphic editing. If you're not good at Photoshop, by the time that you figure out how to completely make a layout that works for you, you probably will be great at Photoshop. The second con is that while it does promote a lot of interaction with chat, it does not promote a lot of interaction with the players, as they can't see each other's faces, and you're really just going to have to rely on natural chemistry, which fortunately I've had a lot of luck with, but not everyone has. For my Monday stream, we have a studio built in my basement, which is where we normally stream in live action. But thanks to COVID, We switched over to a PNG setup temporarily, but to keep the chemistry going between the players, we just had the PNG tubers on and we left Discord on, so chat could see our PNG tubers, but we could see each other's faces. Now, let's look at the FaceCam style. This is probably the most common. If you go on Twitch right now and you look at the D&D streams, probably about 90% of them are going to be FaceCam streams. And when you look at the pros, it's not very hard to see why. The first pro is that it has pretty decent player interaction. I mean, you're able to see each other's faces and you're able to, riff off of each other and make fun of each other. It just adds a lot to the chemistry. You can never really underestimate having that second sense, both hearing and seeing, to really add to that chemistry. The second pro, it's pretty easy to set up. You're really just adding a bunch of face cams in a very specific manner and throwing what would normally be the game screen and just putting Roll20 or virtual tabletop over there. The final pro, there's a lot of flexibility with what you can do with a FaceCam stream. You want to put a slideshow of character sheets somewhere on it? Go for it, it'll fit pretty easily. You want to put the Roll20 roll counter? You can do that too. You want to put lore information that scrolls across the screen? You can easily do that with this kind of setup. You can't do too much at once, but if you are willing to prioritize the things that you really want, you can easily fit it in so that it looks very nice, sleek, and professional. Now let's go over the cons. The first con, you could probably guess. They don't stand out. When 90% of the people who are streaming D&D on Twitch all have the webcam layout, well, the ones who are doing the live in action and the ones who are doing the PNG tubers, they're the ones that are really going to stick out over the FaceCam streams. That's why if you choose to go this route, you really need to do something that's going to make your stream stand out above all of the others. Now the second con, it's a technological nightmare, and it shouldn't have to be. But one of the issues that I've had every time I've done it is, let's say somebody gets disconnected from Discord. It would mess up every single one of the face cams. The only way you could get around it is if you use a different program that's not really meant for streaming and gaming, like Zoom. If all of your players have great connection and there's never any problems like that, then you could completely disregard this. But personally, at least once every few streams I would have one player disconnect, and it would jumble everything up because of the way that Discord cameras are laid out. And the final con, depending on how many players you use, those face cams absolutely kill the overlay real estate on the screen. This isn't really a problem if you only have 3 players, but once you start going into 4 players and you have 5 different cameras on screen, suddenly it becomes a lot less flexible and a lot harder to implement a lot of the really cool ideas that you might have to make your stream stand out. But all in all, FaceCam streaming D&D is a fantastic option. Despite the cons, it really is very easy to set up. It encourages your players to interact. It's really simple to make it look nice. It's a great option. Now, we're not going to go over the podcast style. I know that some people do put that on Twitch, but it really is more of an audio experience with maybe a couple of visual guides when they do it that way. But I focus more on live streaming with a direct focus on the visual aspect. So let's turn our attention to the final style, and definitely the hardest one to pull off, the in-person streaming style. This is the format that Critical Role uses, and it is extremely difficult to pull this one off properly. But if you can, you are looking at a proper high-risk, high-reward scenario. It will cost hundreds, possibly even thousands of dollars to pull this one off. It is a giant commitment, but there is a reason that Critical Role is the most money-making show on Twitch. The pros for this one are really simple and really don't need that much of an explanation. You're going to get the best chemistry with your players. Making an overlay for this setup is extremely easy, and after taking multiple polls, this is by far the style that people enjoy watching the most. I mean, it's basically playing in person but with all of your friends. Honestly, how could it get any better than that? Well, as amazing as the pros to this style is, the cons are pretty crippling. First and foremost, this style is expensive. You should expect to drop hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on all this different equipment, including multiple webcams, multiple SM58 style microphones. You're going to need a professional grade audio mixer, and you're going to need a big space in your house for this to take up. It's not very likely that you're going to be playing in person with other streamers, So you're going to be relying on your audience and your audience alone. And that's going to get a little bit worse when I explain the next con. While PNG tubers give you the opportunity to have really good interaction with your chat, and FaceCams give you not great interaction with your chat, playing in person gives you absolutely no interaction with your chat at all. Because of this, playing in person, while it's a lot of fun, it is a terrible way to grow your channel. On this channel, I talk a lot about the dynamic between players, chat, and the DM. And when you're playing in person, you're kind of throwing that dynamic out the window. There's no way to interact with chat that isn't going to completely disrupt the flow of the game. It's not impossible, but it is extremely difficult to get that right. I say this as somebody who has the most experience with doing in-person streams. But don't let that dishearten you. There still are quite a few streams that do in person that are very successful. How they build their audience is a code I have not yet cracked. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. For the next video that I'm going to do covering this topic, we're going to go and dig in depth at each and every one of these individually and see what the requirements for the overlay for each one of these types of D&D games are. If you have any requests for any videos you want me to do in the future, then let me know in the comments, or join Discord and let me know in there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.